All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk Show. We cover the SWAC inside and out. Of course, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawells coming at you. And as you can see on the screen, it is time for week 5. So we're going to preview the games on week 5. All SWAC games on the docket this week. 5 games, all conference games. Couple all divisional matchups except for one East versus West matchup. So a lot of chances to make some room, catch up, or whatever going on already. And we are in the first weekend of October. I like to call October separation Saturdays because at some point next couple of weeks, the race will start shaping up, especially on the west side. So a couple of big West Division games on the schedule, and like I said, a nice East versus West matchup that we're going to talk about. So as you can see, the socials are on the screen down below. You can feel free to check those out. Facebook is Swag Talk, Instagram is Swag Talk, Twitter, Swag Talk 76. If you want to help the show kind of grow, and keep us going, you can drop a little something off at the Cash App, $ Swag Talk. It'd be much appreciated. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you have, man, why don't you let somebody else know to subscribe, man, so we can get to this 1K. We crossed over 730. And now we're making our way to 1K. So, let's keep on pushing, man. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep growing, and let's see what happens. Hit that notification bell. Make sure to like the videos and share them. And feel free to comment and let me know your thoughts on week 5. So we're gonna start off with a game that, as of yesterday, this game was scheduled to still be played. So I'm operating under the assumption that the weather won't impact this game, and it will take place, and that's Mississippi Valley State at Florida A&M. The game is scheduled for 6 o'clock on Saturday. So this game, two teams, kind of different directions. Valley right now is kind of they teetering. I don't want to say it's over because they only lost one conference game, but they're sitting at 0-4, and that's not unexpected. They had a tough non-conference slate, and then you open up conference play with Jackson State. So that's a tough start to your season. So I know a lot of people were really high on Valley, and hopefully they still have some confidence. But right now, this team is not looking good, especially offensively. Now they did have a good opening drive against JSU, and then a couple other series where they had some chances, but they just have not been able to get anything going, offensively. They switched to Jamari Jones, and he hit a couple big plays against JSU, but right now there's still some growth needs to happen. The passing game is still kind of struggling a bit. The running game, it is capable. You have Caleb Johnson, Jacoby Thomas, and whoever is your quarterback can be a runner. So this team, if they're gonna, make that move, it starts now. Valley last year, I think that third or fourth game was when they started to see a difference. So now you're heading into the 5th game this week. Maybe this week would be the game that the switch flips. Because right now they are not really getting it done. They're only averaging 9 points per game offensively. They're allowing 36. They are rushing the ball for 147 yards per game. They average 3.9 yards per carry. They have 3 rushing touchdowns on the season. They're giving up 171 yards per game, rushing, also 3 touchdowns allowed, and they're allowing an average of 4.9 yards per carry. So they are giving up big plays on the ground. Passing the 42 of 99, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, averaging 93 yards per game. They're allowing 341 yards through the air, 109 of 158, 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So they're pretty solid. Well, they can stop teams on the ground a bit, but they are getting torched through the air. Total offense 240 per game for Valley. They're averaging 3.8 yards per play. The opponents are averaging 6.9 yards per play and over 500 yards, 513 to be exact, per game. Third downs right now, Valley's converting 30% and 71% on fourth downs. They fumbled 4 times and lost 1, and they have 10 sacks. So they are doing a pretty decent job of getting pressure on the quarterback. They've allowed 9 sacks, so that's about even. in terms of them protecting their quarterback. They're allowing 48% on third downs and 50% on fourth downs. The opponents have also lost only one fumble this season. Caleb Johnson right now is the leading rusher with 231 yards. He's averaging 3.7 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Thomas, 152 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Jamari Jones, 98 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. Jelani Easton, 46 yards, 3.1 yards per carry. This is a two-headed monster in terms of running backs. And then, like I said, if you throw the quarterback in there, they have the capable runners to move the ball on the ground, and they tend to run the ball fairly well against most teams. Caleb Johnson had a big run against JSU, basically to open the game, but the backs are solid, and your quarterbacks are mobile and they can run. So that's obviously a key weapon for you. The problem is when you go to the air. Right now, Jamari Jones is 20 of 37, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 54% completion rate, 218 yards. Jelani Easton, 19 of 45, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 138 yards, completing 42% of his passes. So right now, I think Jones is the guy. So, I think, as he plays, he can get a bit more comfortable, and that can make the passing offense click a little bit. Ja'Cory Rankin, 10 catches for 102 yards, averaging 10 yards per catch and 1 touchdown. Donald Johnson, 4 catches for 68 yards, 17 yards per catch. D'Angelo Wagner, 5 catches, 43 yards. He's averaging 8 yards per catch. Sylvester Campbell, 6 catches, 40 yards, and 1 touchdown. Caleb Johnson, 5 catches, 37 yards. So they can spread the ball around. They have a mix of guys. They have some speedy guys like Rankin. They have some bigger body guys. They just need to get some consistency in that passing game, and they have to be able to throw the football. I'm not saying you need to throw it around, all game long, but I think you need to have something to keep defenses honest, and you need to have something to help you move the ball in, because you're going to end up in third and longs, and so you're going to need to be able to convert those third and longs or third and mediums, and just being able to know that you can do it. It can go a long way in helping your offense, and it helps your defense. When you're able to move the football, the defense doesn't have to be on the field as long. I'm gonna say a name every week as that Valley plays, and probably even when they don't play. Ronnie Thomas. This guy is, I think he's up for the Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's a monster on that defensive line right now. He's the leading tackler on the team with 27 tackles. He has 9.5 tackles for loss, which also leads the team, and 6 sacks, which leads the team. So you need to know where number 50 is at all times. You definitely need to know where he's at, because he can disrupt some things. Kenneth Morton has 25 tackles, Caleb Brunson 21, Duro Lee 20, Dion Reed 20. Christopher Victor has 2.5 tackles for loss, Jalen Bell 2 tackles for loss. Sacks, Thomas, like I said, with 6, Bell with 2, Victor with 1. Interceptions, Alexander has 2 interceptions on the season. So, I mean, the defense, is capable of getting pressure. Ronnie Thomas can make some plays. He's going to disrupt some things, and he's going to, you definitely need to account for him. Who else steps up? That's going to be probably the question for this game. Orlando Fernandez is the kicker and punter. He's averaging 42 yards per punt with a long of 67 this season. And he is 1 for 3 on field goals. His long on the season was 23, so not a lot of, they're not going to kick field goals unless they're really close. I mean, they've only kicked 3, and the longest one was between 30 and 39 yards, so they're not going to kick a lot of field goals. They're going to try to score if they get close. On the return game, nobody right now is really standing out, but they have some guys who are capable. It's all about execution for Valley and getting consistency and finding a way to make things happen. You need big plays. You need a big pass. Something to not just early, but you need something that's gonna give you that boost. a turnover, a big turnover, a pick six or something, because you're gonna need that to take on this Florida A&M team that does not lose at home. They are very tough in Bragg Stadium. They have a pretty long winning streak at home, so they're super confident at home, and they're coming off of a nice victory over Alabama A&M. They fell behind, but they battled back, and they were able to right the ship and get themselves going. Right now, they're averaging 22 points per game. They're allowing 38. The rushing attack is still, the rushing attack is not there right now. 83 yards per game on the ground, 2.8 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. The opponents are running the ball for 202 on the ground per game and 5.5 yards per carry and 7 touchdowns. So if you're Valley, I know you want to try to run the football because, that's what you do. The numbers kind of favor you in that aspect. Passing wise, Florida A&M 249 per game, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 83 of 147. The opponent's 245 per game, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 87 of 130. Total offense, Florida A&M 332 per game, averaging 5 yards per play. The opponent's 447 per game, they're averaging 6.5 yards per play. Third downs, Florida A&M's converting on 32%, 17 of 52, and 62% on fourth downs. Right now, they've fumbled. They've lost 4 fumbles on the season. Like I said, to go with those to go with those 4 interceptions that they've thrown. So they've turned the ball over 8 times this season already. The opponents have not lost a fumble at all. So they fumbled 4 times. They haven't lost any. The opponents are converting 43% on third downs and 42% on fourth down. Right now, FAMU has 6 sacks and the opponents have 10. So, it's vital that they protect the quarterback, with a guy who is very disruptive. It was good for Florida A&M that Isaiah Land kind of had a good game. I expect him to, have a better game this week as well, and continue to, kind of get back in the form. Right now, Terrell Jennings is the leading rusher with 125 yards on the ground and 1 touchdown. He's averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Passing attack, Jeremy Musa, 78 of 135, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 954 yards. He's completing 57% of his passes. And he knows where Xavier Smith is on the field at all times. He has 30 catches right now for 318 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had a really big game against Alabama A&M. I expect them to lean on him again. Jamari Sharif, 13 catches, 185 yards. No touchdowns. Darian Oxendine, 9 catches, 119 yards, 13.2 yards per catch. David Manigo, 6 catches for 92 yards. Isaiah Major is a guy that's playing some good football for Florida A&M right now. He's leading the team in tackles with 34. He also has 2.5 tackles for loss, which is second on the team behind Isaiah Land with 3. Major also has 1 sack. Isaiah Land has 2 sacks right now. Johnny Chaney has 19 tackles and Darius Fagan has 19. So you can see the gap between that top guy and that second guy's. Major is always around the football. So expect to hear number 0 called a lot in this game. I think he can make some big plays and be disruptive for this defense. I expect, with Valley being the way they are right now, I expect Florida A&M to get plenty of tackles for loss. I think Valley is going to end up in a lot of tough down and distances, and that's going to really kind of hurt them. Right now, FAMU has 4 guys with 1 interception apiece. Special teams unit is spectacular for Florida A&M. Christopher Duels averaging 43 yards per punt with a longer 56. Jose Romo Martinez is 6 of 7 on field goals. He has a longer 43 this season. He's also doing great on kickoffs. He has 9 touchbacks on the season, 63-yard average, and only 1 kick out of bounds. The return game is gonna be the maybe this is the week that Sharif Smith break one. I think sooner or later that return game is gonna get back to where it was last season. Saturday could be the day. So like I said, all of this basically hinges on if this game is played. And right now, like I said, I'm operating in that it will be played. The weather's kind of trending a different direction. So maybe they'll be able to play this game. And if they do, then I like FAMU in this game. I think Valley's gonna, Valley's gonna be game. I think that's something that you're gonna get from Valley all the time. I don't think Valley's gonna ever come in and just lay down in a game. But I just don't feel confident in Valley right now, especially in Bragg. So I like FAMU by a score of 31-13. I think Valley's gonna come out and I think they're gonna fight. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a battle. And I think FAMU will find a way to win this game. But I think Valley's gonna improve a bit more this week, and they're gonna get better as the season goes on. The next game that we have in this game is kind of affected by the weather, kind of not. I believe Bethune-Cookman is leaving early tomorrow, or if not today. They're gonna try to get out early and find a place to set up shop. To me, this game is gonna probably gonna hinge on where they're at mentally. It's gonna be tough to play a game like knowing that you're away from home or away from school or whatever, and things are going on back that way. So how they function mentally, I think, is going to be the key in this game. They're coming off of a big victory over Grambling. They had some explosive plays early in this game. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown from Darnell Dees, who I said last week, keep an eye out on him. Obviously, he is a threat anytime he touches the ball. And then, they kind of hit a little bit of a lull, but then in the second half, they turned it back up. They got a pick six. They finally, were able to get the ball to Kamari Averett, and they put together a really solid victory. After kind of falling asleep a little bit in the middle, they woke up at the end and closed that game out. Right now, they're averaging 19 points per game, and they're allowing 40. They're running the ball for 161 yards per game, averaging 5.1 yards per carry. You got Quayshawn Bird and Jimmy Robinson. Both of those guys are threats to break it. Jalen Jones can run the ball as well. So that running attack is only going to get better as the season goes on. They're allowing 238 on the ground and 5.9 yards per carry. Passing 191 yards per game for Bethune-Cookman. Still interception problems. They are 7 on the season right now with 3 touchdowns, 40 of 80. Opponents 242 through the air, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That number's getting a bit better. You got guys like Omari Hill Robinson in the secondary that can, take one back. And so they're starting to put some things together here and there. Looking a lot better than they did last season, that's for sure. Total offense 352 per game for Bethune-Cookman, 6 yards per play. Opponents 481 per game and 7.1 yards per play. Third downs, Bethune-Cookman 24%. That's still got to improve. Like I said, this team is not a team that's gonna march the ball down the field consistently. Like I said, if you look at the the Grambling game, they drove 80 something yards in the first drive, but the bulk of that was on one big carry. Then block field goal put you in decent field position. Interceptions put you in decent field position. So they haven't really been able to consistently move the ball. And when you're only converting 24% of your third downs, that's going to hamper you a lot. They're 2-2 on fourth downs, and they only lost 1 fumble on the season. They have 4 sacks as a defense. The opponents are converting 46% on third downs and 42% on fourth downs. They've lost 2 fumbles, and the opponents have 7 sacks on the season. Right now, the leader in rusher is Quayshawn Bird. He has 237 yards, averaging 7 yards per carry. Like I said, he had the 81-yard run against Grambling. Hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but he's putting up some good numbers on the ground. Jalen Jones, 106 yards. He's averaging 4.4 yards per carry. Jimmy Robinson, 58 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, and 1 touchdown. Jones passing right now is 32 of 61, completing 52% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 507 yards. Those numbers, especially that completion percentage, is gonna have to come up. You kind of know what you're getting from him. So I would like to see him take another step, in his, in improving his accuracy and make his decision making. And that can only help the offense. Marcus Riley right now is the leading receiver. He has 7 catches for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. Dylan Lee, 9 catches, 121 yards. Darryl Powell, 4 catches, 111 yards. He's averaging 27 yards per catch. So he doesn't have a lot of catches, but he has a good bit of yardage. So you know if he touched the ball, it's probably going to be a big play. Kamari Everett, 5 catches for 43 yards on the season. Excuse me, 7 catches for 68 yards and 1 touchdown on the season. You have to get the ball to this guy. You know, like I said, you don't want to force it, but you need to. He needs to be involved in this offense. When teams have to know where he's at, that opens up things for everybody else. So you definitely want to know where he's at and get the ball to him. Demetrius Hudson is the leading tackler right now with 19. Marie Jones, 17. Ryan Blake, 16. Devontre Hampton, 15. Amari Hill Robinson, 14. Tackles for loss. Judas McKenzie, 2 tackles for loss on the season right now. And Jaden Loving, 2 tackles for loss. Sacks, Pearson, 1.5. Loving, 1. Jackson, 1. Interceptions, yeah, Hill Robinson and Dees, they each have interception. Both coming in the Grambling game. Special teams, like I said, the kicking unit is, you know, they're not that consistent. Lennon, the punter, is averaging 36 yards per punt. He has a longer 53. Dylan Magadham is the field goal kicker. He's 6 or 7 on field goals. He has a 41-yarder, so he does have some strength to his leg. And Bethune-Cookman blocked a field goal last week, so that's always, something to take into account. The kickoff unit, they don't have any touchbacks yet, so you probably can get a good return, good return set up against them. The return game, Darnell Dees, he's the guy, man. He had a 97-yard touchdown last week. He's averaging 52 yards per return. You definitely don't really want to kick to him, but if you do, you need to make sure you get him down on the ground and don't let him get loose. They haven't returned a punt yet this season, so not anything you can take away from the punt return game. But like I said, Bethune-Cookman is simple. It's all about execution. If they can execute and be consistent, they have the weapons. I think they have a good chance in this game if they can execute. Alabama A&M, I think they played probably their best game of the season, and I know that doesn't say a lot because they gave up, a ton of points in the second half, but they played probably a pretty decent game, especially in the first half. I think they gave themselves a decent chance of winning in that game, but there's still a lot of things that they have to clean up. They're still, not consistently moving the football. The defense is still giving up, some big plays. It's just going to take some work, and it needs to start now. I mean, this is your 5th game of the season. You need to, before things start to slip out of reach. Right now they're averaging 11 points a game, and they're allowing 40. They are running the ball for 113 yards per game. They're averaging 3 yards per carry. The opponent's 145 yards per game, 4.4 yards per carry, 294 yards through the air for the opponents, 12 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Right now, they've only thrown 1 touchdown on the season and 9 interceptions. So that number definitely, they have to keep the turnovers under control. 209 per game for the Bulldogs through the air. Total offense, 322 for Alabama A&M, 4.3 yards per play. 440 for the opponents and 6.5 yards per play. Third downs, A&M is converted 27% on third downs. So turnovers and, lack of third down conversions is going to do you in. They've turned the ball over 11 total times. They have 2 fumbles as well. So that's definitely a killer, 30% on fourth downs. Right now they have 4 sacks as a defense. The opponents are converting 43% on third downs and 57% on fourth downs. And they've lost 3 fumbles. And the opponents have 16 sacks. So they have not done a good job of protecting the quarterback. That's an average of 4 sacks a game. So they need to really protect quarterbacks better. Now, both these guys get out of the pocket. So some of that may be, guys trying to escape the pocket and still getting tackled for losses. But they need to get things going. Right now, Garrett Quarles, 167 yards. He's averaging 2.8 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Xavier Langford has 95 yards. 3.4 yards per carry. Donovan Eaglin, 84 yards, 3.4 yards per carry, and a touchdown. The passing game right now is definitely a work in progress, to put it nicely. Right now, Xavier Langford is the guy that's getting the bulk of the snaps. He's 45 of 83. He has 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions. 54% completion rate, 482 through the air passing. Quincy Casey, 13 of 33, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions, completing 39% of his passes, 173 yards. Isaiah Cox is the leading receiver right now with 13 catches for 224 yards. He's averaging 17 yards per catch. Abdul Ibrahim, 11 catches, 123 yards, 11 yards per catch. Brian Jenkins Jr., 12 catches, 102 yards, 8.5 yards per catch. Keenan Hambrick, 5 catches, 82 yards, 16.4 yards per catch. None of the none of the top guys have a touchdown yet. So you have to put the ball in their hands in some way to allow them opportunities to make some plays. You have receivers. You have a good running back. You have a solid tight end. The passing game definitely needs to pick up. And like I said, it has to start today. There's no ifs or ands about that. Moses Douglas right now is the leading tackler with 17. Dre Terry with 16. Saheed Holt with 15. Avian Rice with 14 tackles for loss. Hayes with 5. Douglas with 4. Terry with 3. Sacks, Douglas with 2. Hayes with 1. And Irby with 1. Interceptions are by Rice, Douglas, and Eberhard. The special teams unit, right now, the punting game is averaging 37 yards per punt. Troy Linvey is the punter, 37.2 yards per punt. He has a long of 50 on the season. Zach Alvarez is 2 of 2 on field goals. Victor Barbosa is 1 for 2. The longest field goal on the season that they made is 47 by Alvarez. So that's a good weapon, a guy that can make 40-plus yard kicks. So, you don't really want to kick long field goals, but if you have to, it's good to know a guy can make it. Right now, Alvarez doesn't have any touchbacks on the season on kickoffs. He's averaging 45.5 yards per kick. So not a lot of yardage on kickoffs. You probably giving up a good bit of hidden yardage as well on the return game right now. Nobody's really standing out right now. So you probably gonna see a guy like Terrell Gardner. Maybe he'll be the one to make some plays for them. Like I said, this game to me, it is anybody's game. This is a game that I think is probably, it can come down to the last drive of the game. It can come down to, somebody, building a lead and having to hold on for the rest of the game. I think this game could go a billion different ways because I don't think either one of these teams has the consistency to put away anybody. Like I said, Alabama and them had a good first half against Florida A&M, and they kind of faltered in the second half. Bethune-Cookman had a great start against Grambling, and then a so-so middle, and then they closed out strong. So I don't know. Like I said, and I feel like I don't know how much of an impact the weather is going to have on Bethune-Cookman in terms of their mentality in this game. But I'm going with the Wildcats. I think they're gonna kind of hit a little bit of a stride and put together a win streak. So I think they're gonna beat the Bulldogs by a score of 26-17. I think this game is gonna be a fourth quarter game. I can see this being a 3-point game or something late, and a touchdown puts it away. A big turnover leads to a touchdown, something like that. I think is going to happen in this game. So that leads us to our next game, which is Texas Southern taking on Alabama State. To me, this is an interesting game. Right now, Alabama State, they were in that Prairie View game. They turned the ball over too many times. They did not convert a third down in that game. Both of those things are killers. You just can't do that against anybody and expect to win. But they were in the game. Like I said, they were deep in Prairie View territory, down by like 4 points. Had a chance to take the lead, couldn't do it. The offense is still, looking for an identity. You have a guy like Demetrius Davis who is an explosive guy. A lot of people know what his potential is. but he's still having those growing pains because he's not an experienced college quarterback. You have to take that into account. You have a guy like Miles Crowley who, has started some games in college and he's been playing well off and on. So I'm not saying there's a quarterback battle or controversy, but I think you see two different ways to go with this in a game where you're playing a team with an established quarterback. So the pressure is on you to consistently, take care of the football and keep up because I think TSU has the better offense in this game. Right now, Alabama State's averaging 16.5 points per game. They're allowing 23.7. This defense is solid. I love their defense. The defense is solid. The Hornets are running the ball for 101 yards per game, 2.9 yards per carry. The defense allowing 148 yards per game, 4 yards per carry. 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions right now for the Hornets passing the ball, 224 yards per game, 61 of 102. The opponent's 187 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, 69 of 116. Total offense right now, Alabama State 325 per game, 5.4 yards per play. The opponents 335 per game, 5.1 yards per play. Now, one of the things that's honestly about this defense that the numbers are fairly impressive is they have a game against UCLA where they gave up 45 points. So other than that, you've given up 13, 13, and 15, and 13, 13, and 24. So you haven't really given up a lot of points, in games against FCS teams or D2 teams. So this defense is very, very good. So don't get that twisted by the way the offense is kind of up and down. This defense is very solid. And I think that, as usual, I think they're going to give Alabama State a chance in this game. Third down conversions, Alabama State 34%. Fourth down, 25%. They fumbled the ball 9 times. So nine fumbles, 5 interceptions. That's 14 turnovers compared to 6 for the opponents. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You just can't do that. 33% on third downs for the opponents, 50% on fourth downs. Right now, Alabama State has 8 sacks. The opponents have 12. The running game is a 3-headed monster. Ja'Cory Merritt, 230 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Santo Dunn, 133 yards, 6 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Put the ball in his hands. That's your playmaker. Put the ball in his hands and let him go to work. Javon Howell, 58 yards right now, 2.9 yards per carry. Davis, 34 yards, 1.9 yards per carry. Howell has 2 touchdowns right now. Miles Crawley, 27 of 48, 424 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Demetrius Davis, 30 of 47, 67%, 63% completion rate, 371 through the air, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I don't know. I guess you just go with the guy that's gonna help you the most. I don't know who that's gonna be. Isaiah Scott right now is the leading receiver, 10 catches, 193 yards, 19 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. Levante Chenault, 11 catches, 182 yards, 16.5 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. Darius Edmonds, 6 catches, 129 yards, 21 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. Jeremiah Hickson, 10 catches, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. Ja'Cory Merritt has 5 catches for 57 yards. Santo Dunn, 5 catches for 54 yards. So they spread the ball around. As you can see, they have quite a few guys with at least 5 catches. So they are definitely spreading the ball around, but they have yet to find that offensive consistency to be a team that you can count on in a game like this. Right now, Bubba Adams is the leader tackler with 34. Ershaw Davis, 20. Adrian Maddox, 20. Tackle for loss. Brandon Gaddy with 5. Adams, 3.5. Maddox, 3.5. Sacks. Young Roll, 3. Gaddy, 2. Interceptions. Maddox has 2. And Jackson has 1. Aubrey Grace is the punter. He's averaging 39.9 yards per punt. He has a long of 49. Nathaniel Eschner is 2 of 4 on field goals right now. His long on the season is 31. So they've only attempted one field goal for 40 plus. So I feel like they're probably going to go for it, more often than not if they are kind of in the in-between zone. Eschner has 56 yards per kick on kickoffs. Right now, Robert McMinn is your return guy. He is averaging 7 yards per punt return right now, and he's averaging 19.6 yards per kickoff return. So if you're going to make a play in this game, especially in special teams, that's your guy who I think is going to be the one to make something happen. Texas Southern is coming off of a really good game against UTSA. They had a chance to really, make things happen. Had a turnover in the red zone that kind of set them back a little bit. But this team defensively is coming around. Like I said, they had a really good defensive performance against Southern. They played pretty well against UTSA in spurts. They did get hit, quite often in the second half. But that was going to happen in a game like this. I like this defense to continue to get better, especially against an offense that is still trying to find their way. Right now, the offense for TSU is averaging 24 points per game. The defense is giving up 37. The rushing attack for TSU, 184 yards per game. The opponent's 263. Through the air right now, TSU is 59 of 100. 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 177 yards per game. 218 yards through the air for the opponents. 9 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. 56 of 96. 361 yards per game for TSU, 5.2 yards per play. The opponent's 481 per game, 7 yards per play. Texas Southern has 38% third down conversion rate, 25 on fourth down. They fumbled twice, lost both, and they have 4 sacks on the season. The opponents have 8 sacks on the season, and they fumbled 3 times and lost all 3. 25% on fourth down for the opponents and 34% on third down for the opponents. So the defense is doing a good job of getting stops on third down. This defense has gotten better week by week by week. I expect to continue to see them get better. They're starting to be able to, turn teams over and get off the field. If they can continue to, do that and stop the run a bit better and get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, then, I think this team is going to be a factor for the rest of the season. Right now, Ladarius Owens, 232 on the ground, 5.3 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Ja'Cory Howard, 202 and 5.2 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Andrew Body, 152 yards on the ground, 3.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Andrew Body right now, 59 of 100, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 708 yards passing. You feel like that game is coming where he's gonna break out. This will be a tough challenge, but he's a guy that you never count him out. He can make something out of nothing. So Alabama State definitely is gonna have to be careful when they're getting pressure on him to keep him in the pocket, because he can get out the pocket, he can run, but he also can look downfield and hit guys downfield when he scrambles. So you need to know where he's at. He's not afraid to tuck it, but he's also not afraid to try to still make a play downfield. Derek Morton right now is his guy. 17 catches, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 17 yards per catch. AJ Bennett, 7 catches for 100 yards, 14.2 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, Jacob Williams is the leading tackler with 26. D. Anderson, 23. Tariq Cooper, 20. Cedric Williams, 16 tackles for loss. Michael Akins has 3.5 tackles for loss. Look out for him. He had a really good game against Southern. So I think he can be a factor in this game on that defensive line. He also leads the team with 2 sacks. Isaiah Hamilton, 2 interceptions to lead the team. He is a playmaker in the secondary. If he gets the ball in his hands, he's capable of scoring. So Alabama State is a team that's turned the ball over a lot. So, a guy like that can feast in a game like this. If they get any pressure on quarterbacks and they make bad throws, TSU can turn them over. And, if they can turn them over and set themselves up for short fields, then this game can get away from Alabama State easily. But Alabama State's defense, I think, is going to keep them in this game. Rick Garcia is the kicker and punter for TSU. Very solid in both. He's averaging 39 yards per punt. He has a long of 57. He's 3 of 5 on field goals with a long of 39 right now. But he's a very capable kicker and punter. He has 4 touchbacks on the season and averaging 60.1 yards per kickoff. Derek Morton is the punt returner right now, 3 yards per return. Ladarius Owens has 2 kickoff returns for 39 yards. Lewis has 9 returns for 231 yards. So you can look out for Lewis. He had a big return against Prairie View to open up that game. So Alabama State, again, you need to be careful in this game because Texas Southern has weapons, and this team is dangerous. This is their first game at home, so I expect them to have a little bit extra charge to them. Alabama State's defense, I think, is what's going to keep them in this game. I think they'll be able to put together, a couple of drives here and now. Maybe a couple, big plays that they hit. But I really feel like Texas Southern is gonna pull this game out. I think it's gonna be close. I think Alabama State's defense is gonna keep them in this game for as long as they can. I feel like they may wear down, and that could be the difference in this game. So I like Texas Southern 28-23. Alabama State can win this game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Texas Southern gonna win this going away, or there's no way that they can lose. Alabama State has to stop turning the ball over. They have to stop shooting themselves in the foot, and the offense has to grow. They 14 turnovers and horrible third down conversion rate. You're not going to beat anybody, which is amazing that they've already won a couple games because those games they did not look great either. So we'll see. This is a tough task, but it's a capable, winnable game for them. I just need the offense to show me that they can get it done. The next game we have is UAPB heads to Baton Rouge to take on Southern. Pine Bluff's coming off of a game against Alcorn where they scored 21 points. They had 14 first half points, came off of turnovers, had short fields. So we don't know. That was their first game against a FCS opponent. I think you can expect this team to compete. I expect nothing less from Pine Bluff. They're going to come out. I know they're going to compete. And this is a dangerous team. Southern is a team that's right now, we don't know where they at mentally. We don't know where they at. We don't really know where they at as a team. They still, are still finding their way. So this is a tough game for Southern to navigate. This is a game that Pine Bluff, if they come in ready, they can really make some things happen in this game. They have some talent on this team. They were in the game against Alcorn for a long time, but they got gashed on the ground, and that concerns me when you play a team like Southern who can run the football. If they don't fall in love with throwing the ball around the field, if Southern commits to running the ball, then it could be a long day for Pine Bluff. If they don't and they turn it over, Pine Bluff has a great chance in this game. Right now, Pine Bluff's averaging 38 points per game. They're giving up 36. They're running the ball for 194 yards per game and 5.2 yards per carry. They're giving up 225 on the ground, 6 yards per carry. The passing game for Pine Bluff, 65 of 123, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 205 yards per game. The opponents, 67 of 110, 207 through the air, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Third down conversions, Pine Bluff 33%. The opponents 60%. They fumbled once. They had 4 fumbles and lost 1. They have 9 sacks. The opponents have 9 sacks as well. They're converting 34% on third down, so pretty good. The defense is doing pretty good on getting stops. They have not allowed a third down conversion, and opponents have fumbled the ball 3 times. The one edge I give Pine Bluff is Mark Evans. He probably is easily, I'm not gonna say easily, but he is most likely the best offensive tackle in the conference right now, and if not one of the best in the country. He's gonna have to, have some help protecting the quarterback. Skylar Perry is a guy that can make some things happen with his legs. Right now he can run, but he needs to be more consistent with his passing. He still has to get that under control. Kayvon Britton's a guy who can run the ball for Pine Bluff. He has 387 yards right now, 6 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. So that's a big weapon for them right now. Perry right now is the second leading rusher with 97 yards and 3 yards per carry and 1 touchdown. Skylar Perry right now is 52 of 97, 53% completion rate, 611 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Accuracy is still his biggest issue. So that's something that he's gonna have to be, real cognizant of where he's putting the ball and who he's throwing to. Christian Cochran, 13 catches, 197 yards. He's averaging 15 yards per catch and a touchdown. Raekwon Prince, 15 catches, 189 yards, 12 yards per catch and 3 touchdowns. So you definitely want to look out for both of those guys. Prince, they've been leaning on a lot in most games. Last week, Cochran was the guy that they kind of went to. Isaac Peppers is the leading tackler on defense right now with 27 tackles. Sincere Jones, 23. Ryland Woods, 20. Tackles for loss, Clark, 3. Ward, 2.5. Smith, 2. Clark, 2.5 sacks on the season right now to lead the team. And right now, Seward, Knox, and Newman all have interceptions. The kicking game right now, Josh Sanchez is averaging 44 yards per punt. He has a longer 68, so he definitely can boot it. They have a block punt on the season. I mean, they've had a punt block this season. Thompson is the kicker right now. Field goals 4-7, 57% right now. His long on the season is 37. He's 1 for 4 from 30 to 39 yards. So not the most consistent guy in that range. He has not attempted a 40-yard field goal, 40+ yard field goal. So you don't know where they stand on that aspect. Return game right now. They have allowed a return for a touchdown on a punt. I think that was due to a block. And they do have a kickoff return touchdown. Maurice Lloyd has an 85-yard return. So you definitely have to look out for that guy. He's averaging 40 yards per punt return right now. So that's somebody that definitely you have to know where he's at when you kick the ball. I think Southern's most likely going to try to do a lot of directional kicking and basically try to also, boot the ball deep and make them start from the 25. Right now, Southern's averaging 34 yards per game. They're allowing 29. They are running the ball for 262 yards per game, 6.6 yards per carry, 142 yards on the ground for the opponents, 3.7 yards per carry. Passing right now, Southern 146 yards per game. They have 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, 42 of 73. The opponents 53 of 84 through the air, 189 yards per game, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Total offense 408 yards per game for Southern, 6.4 yards per play. The opponents 5 yards per play, 331 yards per game. Third down, Southern is converting 34% on third downs and 33% on fourth downs. Turnovers and conversions are killing this team. 4 fumbles, they lost all 4, so that gives them 9 turnovers on the season. That really hurts. The opponents have fumbled once and lost it, so they have forced 5 turnovers. So right now they're negative in turnover ratio. 33% on fourth down for the opponents and 34% on third down, which is definitely much better than last season when Southern was giving up almost 50% on third downs and converting almost 50%. Right now, Southern has 9 sacks on the season, and they've allowed 7 individually. Right now, Bashawn McCray, the quarterback, is the leading rusher. 220 yards. He's averaging 7 yards per carry and 1 touchdown. Gerard Sims, 189 yards, 5.6 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Kendrick Grimes, 126 yards with 6 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Carl Ligon, 102 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. McCray is the leading passer, 34 of 58, 58% completion rate. Definitely want to see that go up. The turnovers, the interceptions have been plaguing him the last 2 games. 4 interceptions in 2 games. That's definitely got to improve, including 3 against Texas Southern. 2 touchdowns right now, 307 yards. The passing game has to complement that run game. Chandler Whitfield, 6 catches, 94 yards, 15 yards per catch. Ross Sims, 5 catches, 54 yards, 1 touchdown. Cornelius Dyson, 2 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. August Pete, 2 catches, 45 yards. Defensively, Corion Harris had a really good game against Texas Southern. He had 16 tackles on the season. Jalen Campbell, 15. Benny McCray, 15. Trey Lang, 14 tackles for loss. Trey Lang with 4. Tyrus Brown, 4. Jordan Lewis, 3. Campbell, 2.5 sacks. Right now, Lewis has 3 sacks. Brown, 2. Lang, 1. Campbell, 1. Donald, 1. And Williams with 1. Interceptions. Harris, Judson, McCray, and Brown each have interceptions. I mean, obviously, when you look at Southern defensively, you need to account for Jordan Lewis, and a guy like Trey Lang is starting to come into his own also at defensive end. So, with Lewis playing linebacker, and then they bringing him in at defensive end on third down passing situations. There's 2 guys on each side that you got to account for. So, I think, with a guy like Mark Evans on one side, I think you're good. But the guy on the other side is definitely going to have to be accounted for. And then, the play of the defensive tackles has been better. Brown has played really well in the middle. Peterson, I think he's been banged up, but he's played pretty well at times. Dumas has been, played, it's kind of hindered by some injuries, but he may be back. So, a guy like that can help open up some things for the rest of the defense. The secondary, they've had some busts, but they've also made some plays. This team is, like I said, the last game really shaped a lot of negative narratives for this team, but I think they still have some solid things ahead of them. Robins Beaupla is the punter. He averaging 48 yards per punt right now. 41 yards per punt right now. Has a longer 59. He does have 1 punt block. Luke Jackson right now is 1 of 3 on field goals with a longer 29. And Joshua Griffin right now is the kickoff man. He has 7 touchbacks on the season. He's definitely a weapon for that kickoff unit. The return game hasn't really got going yet, so we'll see what they can do there. They had they've been kind of plagued with a couple turnovers in the return game, so that's something you definitely need to clean up as well. This game, I think this game pretty much comes down to Southern. I think how Southern approaches this game is going to indicate how this game goes. If Southern is, if Southern works through what they were going through against TSU and they can kind of put some things together, I think they can find themselves, with a victory. Pine Bluff's not going to go away easy. A guy like Kayvon Britton is definitely going to be able to try to challenge this defense. Southern has been a pretty solid defense against the run game. They can be hit with some plays, but they've been pretty solid defensively, all basically most of the year. Obviously outside the LSU game, this defense was pretty solid against TSU, considering they weren't put in the best of situations most of the game. The whole TSU to only 24 points, and I say only, including basically the whole of the 21 points for the bulk of the game, except for a late field goal. When your offense is not moving the football, that's a defense that you can count on to get stops. Your offense has to help them out. So if the offense comes around and they can run the ball, then I think Southern will win this game. But it's going to be a battle all game long. I like Southern by a score 24-14. I can see it being closer than that. I'm not quite sure that either team can win this game going away yet, but stranger things have happened. But right now we're going Jaguars to get back on track. The last game that we have this week is the State Fair Classic, and this is my game of the week. Again, another week where we don't really have a lot of sexy matchups, but Gremlins coming into this game on a slide, a 2-game slide. They look, they outgamed Bethune-Cookman, but they shot themselves in the foot a few times in that game, and they have had second half problems all season. I think they've only scored like 16 points in the second half, I believe. So not a lot of, first half, they are pretty competitive. Second half, for whatever reason, things aren't going the way they want them. So they definitely need to fix that before anything really positive can continue to work out for them. They're averaging 23 points per game. They're allowing 45. The running attack, 121 yards per game, 4.1 yards per carry, 5 yards per carry for the opponents, 225 yards per game. The passing game for Grambling, 52 of 119, 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. They have 188 yards per game. They dropped quite a few passes against Bethune-Cookman. That's something that definitely needs to be cleaned up. 85 of 129 for the opponents, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Total offense, 5.2 yards per play for Grambling, 309 yards per game, 6.4 yards per play for the opponents, 485 yards per game. Total third down conversion right now, Grambling 20%. That definitely has to improve. 57% on fourth downs. They fumbled the ball 8 times and lost 4. So that's 9 turnovers on the season. Again, 9 turnovers and third down conversion rate do you in. They have 7 sacks right now. The opponents have 6 fumbles. So they've turned the ball over 8 times, so it's pretty even in turnovers. Opponents have 6 sacks. They've converted 33% on third downs and 58% on fourth downs. Grambling's defense is a solid defense. The offense has to get consistency to keep them off the field. They cannot stay on the field a long time. Obviously, they'll wear down. Maurice Washington is the leading carrier with 174 yards, 15 yard per carry average, and 3 touchdowns. Hopefully, he's able to play in this game. If he's able to play in this game, that's a game changer. They have a lot of backs, but he's their most explosive guy by far. So if he's able to play, then that can change a lot of things for the rushing attack. Quintarius Hawkins is 50 of 103 passing, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 749 yards. He's only completed 48% of his passes. You can't win like that. Lyndon Rash, 12 catches, 249 yards, 20-yard average, 2 touchdowns. Chance Williams, 6 catches, 122 yards, 20-yard average. Gerald Waters, 5 catches, 99 yards, 19-yard average, 1 touchdown. Grambling has big playability. I said it last week. They have big playability, but they don't have the consistency to move the ball down the field. And against a defense like Prairie View, you're going to need that because you're not going to get a lot of big plays. Lewis Matthews, 36 tackles to lead the team. Joshua Quiet, 22. Josh Reed, 22. Matthews, 6 tackles for loss. Sunday out of Anderson, 4.5. Anderson, 3 sacks to lead the team. Interceptions by Thomas and Lee. Special teams, Jimmy Isles is averaging 38 yards per punt. He has a long of 52. Garrett Urban, 33 of 4 on field goals with a long of 41. The return game, right now, they haven't really got anything going yet. But, again, a guy like Maurice Washington, if he's able to play, he can be a factor in the return game. I really hope he's able to play because that guy's a game changer. He can even out a lot of things for this offense, but they're going to need to move the ball consistently. They're facing a team that's averaging 22 points and giving up 22 points. That Prairie View is up and down offensively, but the defense has been there all season. The running game has been where Prairie View hangs their hat on offense. 196 yards per game, 4.6 yards per carry, 131 yards per game for the opponents, 3.5 yards per carry. 136 yards passing for Prairie View right now, 41 of 81, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 192 yards passing for the opponents, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Total offense, 332 for Prairie View, 5.3 yards per play, 323 for the opponents, 4.7 yards per play. As you can see, numbers are pretty even on all aspects. Third down conversion rate, 35% for the opponents. 35% for Prairie View, 50% on fourth downs. Prairie View's fumbled 4 times, lost all 4. They have 9 sacks. The opponents, 40% on third down, 16% on fourth down, 5 fumbles, lost 3, and they have allowed 4 sacks. So they've done a good job of protecting the quarterback, but the running game is where it's at. Ahmad Antoine right now, 304 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Trezon Connolly, 183 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Jaden Stewart, 148 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Any one of those guys can hurt you with the run game. Connolly, 36 of 63, 429 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 57% completion rate. Ty Holden, 9 catches, 106 yards, 11.7 yards per catch. Jordan Johnson, 7 catches, 82 yards, also 11 yards per catch. Defensively, Tariq Mulmore leads the team with 31 tackles. Stacy Brown, 30. Keyshawn Johnson, 30. Tackles for loss. Right now, Johnson and Johnson, 4.5. Jesse Evans, 4.5. Sacks, Johnson, 2. Interceptions, Smith with 2. Efren Jasso is the punter, 39 yards per punt. Villa Gomez and Reyes have both been kicking. Villa Gomez is 2 of 2 on field goals with a long of 41. Reyes 3 of 7 with a long of 47. And in the return game, they haven't really had too many big returns yet. But again, like most teams, I figure at some point you're gonna bust one. And if it's your team, why not today? This game is pretty simple. Grambling needs to move the football. They need to find a way to consistently move the football. I don't know if it's gonna be today because I think Prairie View's defense has been very salty this year. The offense has been hit or miss, but when the ground game gets going, they can cause some problems. So I think Prairie View has the edge with their defense over Grambling's offense. That Prairie View offense against Grambling defense, I think, is going to be probably the matchup that wins this game. I think Prairie View will be able to have some success offensively. I don't know if Grambling going to be able to really find some consistency that they need. I like Prairie View in this game by a score of 27-14. I think the Panthers are going to continue to keep that hold on the West Division that they have right now as they move on through the season. That's going to do it for this week. We'll be back on Thursday with another edition of SWAC Smoke. So don't forget to check that out. And then Sunday, we'll recap all these games. So with that being said, I'm your boy C. Wells signing out. Y'all enjoy y'all hump day, and I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.